My guest tonight was an unstoppable force of nature on the football field and living proof that if you're willing to put in the work, anything is possible. After being drafted in the first round by the Dallas Cowboys, Emmitt James Smith III would go on to rewrite the record books and become the NFL's all-time leading rusher. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler, league MVP, and 3-time Super Bowl champion. But before he would set the record for most rushing touchdowns in NFL history, did you know he dreamed of playing for the Dallas Cowboys when he was just 7 years old? Carried his birth certificate to youth football games to prove his age. Had Walter Payton's nickname Sweetness stitched onto his high school letterman's jacket. Well, tonight we'll learn what makes this undeniable icon who he is. A man who once said, "I'm an enigma, an unknown. You can't really figure out what I'm going to do next. I like it like that." Please welcome Pro Football Hall of Famer, Emmitt Smith. Wow. 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 Thank you.
You must be pretty special. You
Well,
got a lot of people in here.
I was going to say, I think I speak on behalf of the 44,000 people that are in this room right now when I say, you look damn good. I mean,
Thank you, man.
the unofficial word is you're the best dressed in the 20-plus guests we've had sit in that chair. And maybe most importantly, you outdid Troy Aikman yet again.
Well, like someone asked me earlier in the backstage, or am I going to outdo Troy? I'm like, that's not the intent. But I'm going to be who I am.
Right.
I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to come out here dressed appropriately and show respect to my man Joe Buck. And you know, just give people what they came to see.
You know, the whole reason for this show is you get to know where somebody came from, and in your specific case, the answer is Pensacola, Florida.
Right. Not many people know what that said, right?
Oh, yeah, we do. But from what I can tell, a really strong family. I mean, you were born into a hell of a place to grow up.
Well, you know, my mom and dad and my grandfather and grandmother, they did a very good job of raising all 5 of their kids, or grandkids as well. That's me and my brother Eric, who's younger than I am. I'm the oldest right there, so.
You already got guns there.
Yeah, you know, I started working out early. Herschel Walker was doing push-ups, so I figured I'd start too.
Yeah, some curls.
And so, being the oldest boy in the house, yes, I had tremendous responsibilities, and I also had an opportunity to learn how to take care of myself and as well as take care of others.
It's funny, you know, when I talked to your brother Emery, he said, our dad may have been the most talented athlete in the entire family. I said, wait a minute now, your brother's the all-time leading rusher in the history of the NFL. He said, I'm telling you, guys who saw him back in the day say he could really run the ball.
That's what guys said. And you know, fortunately for me, I never got a chance to see it. But, you know, he was at a time when tape wasn't quite like it is today.
Right.
And so, but there was a lot of people in my hometown that actually gave my father kudos. He was a running back at Booker T. Washington High School, and people talk very highly of him.
His nickname was Puddin'.
Puddin'. And it still is Puddin'.
And this is a guy who really had to give up his dream, though, to take care of his mother, your grandmother.
Right.
Irma Lee.
Yes. My grandmother, who was a sweet lady, very spiritual woman, she became ill where she had a debilitating disease that restricted her from walking, and she was confined to a wheelchair for a number of years. I remember her at a time when she used to walk with a walker, and I could see her deteriorating. And I was fairly young at the time, and my father actually gave up a college scholarship to stay home to take care of her. And so he never really had a chance to go and fulfill his dream or pursue his dream at playing the game of football. And so, which was kind of sad. My father grew up driving the city bus, humble man.
But let's say this. he was great at what he did,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He was a part of the Million Mile Club and was really proud of driving that bus safely.
Without a doubt.
For 1,000,000 miles.
Without a doubt, and without a doubt, and he's still proud of that fact. But my father was a very cool man, very.
How was
quiet
he
man.
with you? Tough love,
My mother,
huggy-feely guy?
No, nothing huggy-feely about my pops.
I kind of knew the answer.
Nothing.
I kind of knew the answer before I asked it.
If it
but
got
I
to
just
be
throw it
Philly,
out.
it was because he laid hands on me. But my mom was the one that did both. She actually loved on us. She gave us inspiration. She actually gave us tough love, too, to let us know that we needed to do things the right way.
But tell me about what the house felt like.
The house felt like a home. It felt like a complete home. My mom did not really she wasn't a working lady at the time. She actually stayed home, and she did odd jobs at times to help ends meet. But she wanted to make sure that her kids got up in the morning, got off to school with a meal on their stomach, and when they got home, she wanted to make sure that she was there and that we was doing what we needed to do. And as we got older, some of that responsibility fell upon my shoulders in terms of watching the house until she got home. And but she always made sure that we didn't have to want for anything. My pops made the same commitment. My grandfather made the same commitment to all of the grandkids, and they made sure that we had the right discipline. Made sure that we watched after each other's back, even in the streets. Don't let nobody touch your brother. If they do, both y'all better be fighting that guy or that person. And if both of y'all get beat, then call me, then we're going to all fight them. So that's just the way it was. That's just the way it was. And so we've definitely felt love from both parents.
And I love the fact that you admit out here that a lot of the responsibility did fall on you. I mean, caring for your grandmother oftentimes fell to you. You're lifting her
most definitely.
around.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is before home health care became home health care. And my grandfather would work shift yard work. He would work 9 to 7 or 7 to 11 and 3 to 11. And I would stay with my grandmother. She would call me in the middle of the night. I would get up, go grab a glass of water, come put a straw and let her drink some water, turn over on her side, put pillows on the side so she can be comfortable. Even if I had to change her, I would do it.
And you're how old?
I was probably 8 or 9.
Man.
Yeah. But it taught me a very, very valuable lesson. At the time, I couldn't really understand it, Joe, because I was like, why me? Like most young kids are very selfish. Why me? Why I got to do this? But it taught me a very valuable lesson about helping others who are in need and who cannot help themselves, but just need a helping hand. So.
Beautiful. When did you first discover football?
Probably when I was 7, watching the game with my father and some
And you were a Cowboy fan back then.
Oh yeah. I was a kid. I mean, think about it. We only had like 3 stations back then: CBS, NBC, and if you had cable, you had TBS. You catch the Cowboys and the Redskins, the big rivalry games, the big primetime games on Sunday. Yeah, I was a big-time Cowboy fan watching Roger Staubach and Dorsett and Drew Pearson and that team. Man, I just loved it. Beyond watching the game itself, my mother's nephews, Morris Beck, Edward Beck, Jerome, and Edward, and our cousins Tim and Jeffrey, my brother Eric and I, who you saw on the picture up there, we would play against the 2 youngest Beck boys, and they were older than Eric and I, but we would go over in the park, we would compete. The older brothers taught us how to do the 3-point stands, the 2-point stands, the 4-point stands, play outside linebacker, play quarterback, play tight end, wide receivers, defensive backs. They taught us all the game before we can actually get into uniform. There was a time where I could not go to sleep. I used to beg my mom and dad just to let me stay up and see the halftime highlights of Monday Night Football with Howard Cosell doing the calling. And I would cry if they wouldn't let me watch that. And so, learning how to play the game before I actually got in the uniform is where it all began.
Is it true that you did tell your dad at the age of 7 that you would play, not just in the NFL, but for the Dallas Cowboys?
The truth is, I told him I wanted to play professional football, and I wanted to play for the Dallas Cowboys. And that's what I told him I was 7. And so, I mean, he looked at me like I was crazy. I mean, a 7-year-old kid talking about, that's pipe dreams.
You really matured fast. And when you do get into organized football,
Right.
I would assume with your size and your strength, you were making headlines even back then.
I was okay.
Yeah,
I was okay.
Don't be humble.
No.
It's called undeniable.
Yeah, okay.
Don't deny.
All right, let me just say this. When I was 10 years old, I was forced to play with 11 and 12-year-old kids because I weighed too much to play with the 9 and 10-year-old kids, so they forced me to go up. Hearing people in the stands talk about this kid that's 10 years old playing with 11 and 12-year-old kids and competing at their level gave me some kind of insight of what I was able to do.
To go back to your 8th grade year, you have to sit out football because you're too big.
Yeah.
You're sitting in a sauna.
No, I'm sitting in a car with a plastic bag
trash
on,
bag
along
on.
with a sweatshirt and some sweatpants, and the heat turned all the way up.
No.
I promise you. And the radio on listening to Alabama football.
And you're just trying to sweat out weight because you're 11, 12 years old. You're trying to make weight.
That's what you call sacrifice. Sacrificing to do the things that you truly want to do. And that's what people need to understand. If you really want something bad enough, are you willing to pay the price for it? And if you are, you would do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Part of the issue with the weight are the thighs, right? I mean, that's always been your calling card. And they were big early.
Thighs and ass, let me just say.
Okay.
It is what it is.
You go to Escambia High School, a football program that had not had a winning season in almost 2 decades.
Right.
And here comes Emmitt Smith.
So, as a true freshman in high school, I started varsity football. I never really practiced with the freshman squad. They put me right on varsity because all the guys that was on the varsity squad, a lot of us played against each other in Pop Warner football.
They knew.
They knew.
And it's that high school coach who wants you, I know individually, but guys on the team to write down their goals.
Right.
Right? And he says, it's only a dream.
Till you write it down.
Till you write it down.
And then it becomes a goal. And from that point on, I've always wrote down my goals. I write down my team goals first, what I want to see the team do. Then I write down my own individual goals second, because I believe team has to come before me. How I affect the team is what I do personally within the team format. And so that's why I'm second.
Do you remember what your goals were the first time you put pencil or pen to paper?
Well, the number one goal for the team, obviously, we not to lose all those games that they were losing before.
Right.
But obviously, lead the team in rushing was always a goal. And rush for over 2,000 yards was always on there. Score 25 touchdowns in a season was always there. Win, go to state was there. And so those were just some of the personal goals. Staying healthy was there. Just doing and repeating it every year, wanting to do better the next year, do more. One of my goals I never achieved was to rush for over 425 yards in one game and score 6 touchdowns. That never happened. But I got 316 yards and about 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But that did happen.
But so you're setting goals that are way out there.
Yes.
Hoping to, I mean, if you get there, great.
I'm striving.
Right.
I'm striving to.
If you come short, you're still having a hell of a year.
That's my philosophy. If I come short, fine. As long as we're having a great year, we'll get it. Let's keep striving for the impossible. Never settle for something that's easily attainable.
And it took off pretty
quick.
Pretty quick.
We turn it around. We go 7-3 my freshman year.
When I talked to Troy Aikman about Emmitt Smith, he said you can throw it all away and just know one thing. You don't accumulate that kind of yardage if you don't show up to play. And he was the most dependable guy that he had ever seen. Now, that starts even in high school. Your sophomore year, you sprain an ankle.
2. Not 1, but 2.
2.
I had to wear a cast in order to play.
You get taped up at halftime. You're mad that they're not putting you back in the game.
I'm hot. I'm livid. I mean, because we're playing Tallahassee Ricketts in the playoff, first round of the playoff in Tallahassee. And I have 2 badly sprained ankles. And they allowed Gerald Williams, whom I know and love very dearly, to be the running back. They converted him from a defensive back to running back, and he carried the football for about 3 or 4 quarters. And I'm on the sideline, itching to get in the game, just flinching, just mad because I can't play. And Dwight just won't holding me back, and I'm just getting mad. And I turned to Jimmy. I said, man, y'all got to put me in the game. And the game is so close, real close. And I'm like, put me in. And finally they gave in and let me go in. And we end up winning the game in 4 overtimes. 4 overtimes.
Wow. And your team would then go on to win the state championship after
Right,
that.
but we would go on and play in Jacksonville the next week. And that game go into 7 overtimes.
Oh, my God.
7 overtimes. And then from there we go on and we cruise from that point on.
Your junior year, 2,918 yards.
Did that happen?
That happened. Pretty good, huh?
Not bad. Not bad.
And you go on to win the 4A state championship.
Yes, sir.
So this downtrodden program goes from good to state champ at 3A to state champ at 4A, handing you the ball. Your coach said, yeah, we had three parts of our offense. We would hand the ball to Emmitt, we pitched the ball to Emmitt, and we threw the ball to Emmitt. That's what your high school did.
Well, he simplified it, but I had other players too. We went from a school that probably sent 1 or 2 kids to college to my junior year where we were sending 15 to 20 kids to college.
Play football.
To play football. My junior and senior year.
It's also in that time, I just find it ironic because it comes back around that you have Sweetness stitched into your Letterman's jacket.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, Sweetness was the nickname for the great Walter Payton.
Yes. They used to tell me I used to run like Walter. And so, I became a big fan of Walter at a young age. And then, I had people tell me I looked like him. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to become Sweetness too. So I became Sweetness.
So your dad's nickname's Puddin' and your name's Sweetness.
Yeah.
Those are the Smith boys.
Yeah, exactly.
What were you looking for in a college? Because you could have gone anywhere. By the time you're ready to walk out, you're the parade All-American,
Right.
You're all U.S.
I wanted to go to an organization where I had a chance to play. And I felt like Florida gave me the best opportunity to play.
Around this time, though, you lose your grandmother, and you're now launching, now you're becoming a man, right? I mean, you're going off to college.
Right.
How hard was that to lose her?
It happened in Florida, like most states, they have the Super 25 football team, state of Florida versus state of Georgia, and I was on the state of Florida's team doing this transition between high school and college. And while I was down there preparing to play in the game, I was asleep on the floor. Emmitt, you need to come with us. And right when I woke up, I had a sense that something happened to my grandmother. I told you not to bring this up, man. And so I knew in my spirit that she had left. And all I wanted to do was get home because she was such a spiritual person. Right before I left to go to college, even right before I left to go down to the All-Star game, she gave me this Bible verse. And the Bible verse was pretty simple. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not onto your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. And I meditated on that word for so long. And everything that I did from that point on was all around that. Whenever I found myself in a situation, even going to Florida, and I'm competing for a job, and I got, Florida only told me they had 5 running backs, but they ended up with 10. And I'm struggling to get in there because now I'm entering into this big-time program, and they're trying to break me down, trying to put weight on me. I would go to my room, and I would read, and I would meditate on it. And it was just one of those things where I told you not to do this.
So you go to Florida, they do the bait and switch on you. They tell you they got 5 running backs, all of a sudden there's 10.
Yeah.
We talked about goals and what you were doing in high school. What are your goals when you get to college?
Goals in college, obviously to start and to get over about 1,500 yards, being modest, and score about 20 touchdowns, average 125 yards a game, win games, and those are my goals.
Do you remember your first start?
Yes, I do.
It was a hell of a first start.
Yes, it was.
It looked like this.
Here's Smith leading the way. McGrady. Smith's gone. Touchdown, Florida. Emmitt Smith looking for 200 yards and his second touchdown. Look at the move to the 5. Oh, my, Emmitt Smith. There you go, Emmitt Smith. He now holds the record for rushing by a freshman running back in Florida history.
Yep. Man, things are going about as well as they can go for you on the football field.
Yeah, maybe individually, yes, but not for the overall program. We kind of like was in the middle of the road, 6-5, 7-4, nothing real, nothing really to be proud of.
So while the individual goals are being met,
yeah,
the first thing on your list, which are team goals, it's not
quite been met. And that was the disappointing part because while I was at the University of Florida, we cycled through 3 different offensive coordinators for 3 straight years, all 3 years I was there. So I never had a chance to really grow in the offense and really become a complete football player like I wanted to become.
Your junior year rolls around. You have another great year individually. Your head coach resigns.
Yeah.
Steve Spurrier's on his way in.
Right.
And that just happens to be when they're allowing juniors to head to the NFL draft. And that's, I mean, you've done all you can do at the University of Florida individually.
All right.
Did you have a sense of where you might go in the draft?
Didn't have a clue.
Was it first round, no doubt, or was it, I hope I'm in the first round?
Well, there was a lot of talk. You know, everybody speculate. Mel Kiper and everybody else speculate that he's a for sure first round draft pick. But I seen the for sure first round draft picks not get drafted at all.
And people, to be fair, were saying, well, he's too small. He's too small. He's not fast enough.
Yeah.
He's not NFL ready.
I'm not. I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have what it takes.
Jimmy Johnson, the great Jimmy Johnson, is coming off a 1-15 season with our friend Troy Aikman. And I know you wanted to be a Cowboy since you were 7, but they stunk at that time.
Not only did they stink, but I think they were sitting at the 22nd pick in that draft. And so.
But now they make a move.
I didn't know whether or not I would go to them or not, but I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking the top 10 based off of what people were saying. And I was nervous. You know, when I got that call from Jimmy, I was like, the Cowboys? Would I like to wear a star on my helmet? I'm like, heck yeah.
That was a question, right? Would you like to wear a star on your helmet?
How would you like to wear a star on your helmet? I'm like, Coach, I would love to wear a star on my helmet. You don't understand. I mean, I don't think that they truly understood how much I absolutely love the Dallas Cowboys.
Funny enough, you're rooming with Michael Irvin.
That's funny.
Right. And he sees you writing down your goals. I mean, we talk about this stuff all the time on this show, but you're actually doing what your high school coach had taught you to do, because now it's not a dream, it's a goal. And your goal is to
become the all-time leading rusher as a rookie. And he looked at me and started laughing. Started laughing like this dude doesn't know what he just got into. And
because he'd been there.
Yeah, he has been there. Michael had been there. Matter of fact, he was coming off of a knee injury. And he had gone through a 1-15 season, so he knew the challenge that lied ahead of us.
Yeah.
And so I guess he was trying to give me a dose of reality. But for me, my reality was what it was. And I knew that I had a chance to affect it. The question becomes, how long will you be here? What kind of endurance do you actually have? And are you physically fit enough to endure the pounding that you have to go through to get there? My goals were to play 13 years in the National Football League. For the first time, I started thinking about a number of years I wanted to play.
Really?
For the first time ever, I started thinking about a number of years I wanted to play. I knew Peyton had played 13 years. I knew other running backs that played 12 or 13 years. And so 13 became a number for me to pursue after. He got it. He got 16,000 yards in 13 years. I wanted to do the same thing. And so that was part of the goal list. Winning Super Bowls was definitely part of the goal list. Becoming the MVP in the Super Bowl was part of the goal list. Winning multiple Super Bowls was part of the goal list. Leading the league in rushing was part of the goal list. Rushing for over 425 yards was still on the goal list. Rushing for 2,000 yards was on the goal list. All of those things was on the goal list. Having a successful team and a career, all that was on the goal list.
Here's the hard thing for you, though. It's like everybody's nightmare, no matter what you do for your line of work. You get kind of eased into the season the first couple of games.
Right.
How hard was that?
I think that's part of the process. I didn't really get eased in. Let me just show you how quickly it happened.
Okay.
I mean, I come in, I sign on a Tuesday. We played that Sunday against San Diego. Timmy Smith is a starting running back. I play a little bit. I don't play a whole lot. Monday rolls around, or Tuesday rolls around, they let Timmy Smith go. I'm the only running back left. So I start in the game. From that point on, I started. I didn't carry the ball a whole lot. I only averaged, early on in my career, it was like I was averaging 5 or 6 carries here or 12 carries there. It goes to show you how much we threw the football. And then all of a sudden, they decided they wanted to show me up. And we're playing against Tampa. They gave me some carries. I get 121 yards, score a couple touchdowns. We win the game. The philosophy changed from that point on, and I started getting into more.
You know, and it happens fast for you, too. You're the NFL's Offensive Rookie of the Year. You're the only Pro Bowler on that team.
At that time, yes.
At that time as a rookie in 1990. But it's really starting to change, and that next season is when a man named Norv Turner shows up.
Oh, my gosh.
And the world changes for Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and the Dallas Cowboys in general.
Most definitely. Norv Turner came in with the West Coast style of offense, if you will, or the Eric Coryell offense, which was an offense, Joe, that was very similar to my high school offense. And it was pretty simple. The previous system was pretty complicated, but Norv simplified the system and gave everybody a chance to thrive in it. And to me, that is a mark of a tremendous coach that's taken advantage of the talent that he has around him.
But there's something you do that has kind of the feel of an artistry, too. I mean, people think of Emmitt Smith, they see the thighs, they think power back. But you were more than that. You knew when to hit it. You knew when to delay a beat. You knew, and when I talked to Troy, he said the first guy in the hole from the defense never brought down Emmitt Smith. You had the ability to break through that first level of tackling. That's what made you great.
I had the ability to process fairly quickly. And I think in doing such, it gave me a tremendous advantage. And what people classified as a disadvantage actually became my advantage because I was small enough to where bigger guys could not get underneath me, but I could get underneath them. I was strong enough to where it hurt them more than it hurt me. And if it was one-on-one, then it becomes a chess game. I'm gonna run through you this time, next time I may run through you again. The next time I may sidestep you, may shuffle you, may make you get out of play, out of position, and utilize your leverage or your weight position against you. And my job is to make you so uncomfortable that you don't know what's coming next. And that was to my advantage.
In 1991, you end up edging Barry Sanders for the rushing title. But I think like 15 yards, you end up winning that rushing title. The accolades are starting to come, and now the team is starting to fill in.
Yes.
What was different about 92? What are the expectations going in?
The experience that we gained in North Turner's offense the first year, and the confidence that we gained within that offense, because we went to the playoff in his first year and got knocked out by Barry Sanders up in Detroit.
Right.
And so, but on that plane ride back, every man, even though it was a disappointing loss, every man kept saying, this won't happen next year. We're gonna do it next year.
It's funny, you're not the first person from that team to tell me that.
Well, if I'm not the first one, everyone's saying the same thing is because everyone believed that. They believed we had something very, very special. And we had an opportunity to do something very, very special. And everybody was passionate about where we were going. And when you got people buying into the same belief and nobody's being divisive, that's a powerful tool.
Was that Jimmy?
Jimmy set the atmosphere for us. But at the end of the day, Joe, we as individual players had to reside in the fact that we had to buy into something. And the success is in the pudding. When you have someone now that's leading the league in rushing and someone that's catching 80 to 100 passes, second year, I wasn't the only player that went to the Pro Bowl. Other players started going to the Pro Bowl. That says that you're doing the right things. And so when 92 rolled around, people's like, yeah, we got us a chance. And when you come back to the locker room or you come back for training and there's only 53 of us on the roster. And then there's 7 others. But when you come back and you start training, you start seeing 25 guys in the weight room out there running and conditioning together between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning. That says a lot.
You guys go 13-3. And for NFL fans, that's the start of this great rivalry with the 49ers in the postseason. Right. I mean, man, that was fun as a fan to watch.
We were playing not only against some of the greatest Niners football players, but we were playing with history, too, at the same time. That legacy that was left, the star back and the catch and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And so now we're playing in the ultimate game, the one game that's gonna set the ship right. The question becomes, are we the group to do it? Against Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Steve Young, that great 49er team and great offensive players. Are we the group to do it?
And the Cowboys advance to the Super Bowl.
1992, you go to the Super Bowl. What is that like for this kid from Pensacola, Florida, who was playing in front of 15,000 in high school? Man.
Now, I'm going to put some stuff together again for you. We left this out. Now, we haven't talked about 87 when I'm a senior in high school and I'm named Gatorade Football Player of the Year. I was named Gatorade National Football Player of the Year, and I was afforded a trip to come to the Super Bowl out here in Pasadena against the Denver Broncos and the Giants.
Right.
So Jimmy Nichols' son and I, my best friend Johnny, we fly out for the game. We're sitting up in the stands watching that game, and Denver is getting their teeth kicked in by the Giants. And I'm sitting in the stands as a young football player, all hyped up, ready to go, want to get on the football field and play. And I turned to Johnny and I said, man, I want to play in the Super Bowl and I want to play right here. right here. Fast forward 6 years later, we beat the Niners. We come to the Super Bowl 26 in Pasadena, California. And we're playing in the same stadium, and Johnny Nick is sitting up there watching me. 6 years later. Two things are going to happen. We're either going to win or we're going to lose. All I know is I do not want to be on the losing side. And so it was so overwhelming. I did not realize how overwhelming it was until I started to warm up, because my back got tight as if I was out of shape. Because the anxiety and the excitement of playing in your very first Super Bowl, knowing it can go either way, and knowing that you don't want to be that guy that make the first mistake or make the mistake that cost you.
They go back to big day as Super Bowl champion. Dallas 52, Buffalo 17.
I see your chest pumping even here. What is that like to watch now? What did that feel like then?
I mean, it's indescribable, really, truly is, because, I mean, it's one of those exhilarating moments where any person could probably have experienced this, like a child on Christmas morning, getting your toys that you always wanted to have. That's not a toy, but that is a reward for all of the hard work and sacrifice that you put in for years to play in the game like that.
What'd your family, how'd they react?
Oh, they were at the game just loving the moment just as much as I was. I mean, I think for all of us, and what I appreciate the most is that they wasn't jealous of me. They wasn't envy of me. They allowed me to be their son and their brothers and sisters. And they celebrated with me. We share in each other's success. And you don't see that often. It's always somebody jealous of another. Or you didn't do this, and how come I couldn't do that? It's all that kind of stuff, but not with my brothers and sisters and my parents and my siblings.
So after that Super Bowl win, your rookie contract's up. And Jerry Jones says publicly, well, Emmitt Smith is a luxury. He's not a necessity. We can win the Super Bowl without him. And you're holding out. You missed the first two games, and the Cowboys go 0-2.
You used the word holding out. Let's correct that word, okay?
Okay, you were kept out.
I was unemployed.
You were unemployed.
I was unemployed. And we can vouch for that, right? When you don't have a contract, that means you don't have a job, right?
Okay.
So I did not have a contract, so I did not have a job. Some of the media folks like to say holding out. Holding out would mean if I had a contract and I refused to come in.
Okay.
So let's make that clear.
Okay, all right, I can be the media guy.
Let's just make that clear. I mean, for years, y'all, for years I had to live and had to correct that, but people always question whether or not I'm doing it because, no, it's just the right thing. It's the right thing that happened.
Okay.
I did not have a contract.
Let me finish then. Holding out for more money.
Negotiating for more money.
Okay, negotiating. Fair enough. Charles Haley, the team goes 0-2, and Charles Haley, who's one of the all-time great guys and crazy guys and intense guys, throws his helmet against the wall after the game and says, we better get Emmitt Smith in here right now.
And so come out, get started, and, we go to Arizona, and Derek Lassick played the whole first half. They allowed me to play the third and fourth quarter, which was fine. And then after that, I started playing a little bit more.
The hardest thing to do is to ramp it all back up and do it again. Did you sense the same urgency, the same desire?
Yes. Yes. We wanted to do it again very badly. We really did. And we felt like we could. Once the pieces got back together, then I think everything was just rolling the way it needed to roll.
Remember that kid in high school that sprained both ankles and was hot on the sideline and got taped up and went in there and won the game?
Yeah.
Well, at the end of this season, you're in a game at the Meadowlands against the Giants.
Right.
It's an opportunity for your team.
It was on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, I probably was at an 8 or 9.
You put an extra pad in that shoulder pad.
The thought was put 2 knee pads together, cut a donut hole in the middle of it, tape it together and tape it to my shoulder so I would have room and space within the joint because I hurt my AC joint and my clavicle kind of popped up a little bit. And so I'm glad it didn't come through the skin, but it popped up a little bit.
You need to win this game, right?
That's the most important thing. We needed to win this game. And they started giving me the football. They started giving me the football. They started giving me the football.
You've referred to that game, though, as your best.
That's the New York City, the media capital. And it happened under the circumstances that required us to win the game to secure home field advantage. But most importantly, it happened to a kid that's not big enough, not fast enough, not strong enough, but heart is bigger than you could possibly imagine. And mental toughness, the things that are required, the things that I learned when I had the 2 badly sprained ankles. When it was over, I was so relieved, but yet I was in so much pain. I didn't realize how bad it was. My shoulder was swollen up for almost 2 weeks. I couldn't even see my trap muscle for almost 7 to 8 days.
I haven't seen mine for 47 years.
You don't need yours. And so, I mean, I knew the things that were important. And so when you understand what's important, you do what you have to do. And that's the way I was raised. That's the way I was trained. And that's just my style. That's what it is.
So you end up back in the playoffs. You end up facing the 49ers again, and Jimmy Johnson guarantees a win.
I loved it.
You did? You relish that kind of stuff.
I loved it. I'm like, don't worry, Coach, we got your back. We have your back. And I mean, we were a very confident team. And we had the better team. And we knew it because we had enough depth on our team that if we played to our best, we could compete against anybody in the National Football League, and they all knew it too.
You beat the 49ers. You make good on the guarantee of the win by Jimmy. You go back to the Super Bowl. Now here you are again. What's the experience like second time around compared to the Pasadena?
It's not quite like the first time.
Nothing's ever like the first.
No, nothing is ever like that very first time. It's a little bit different, but it's still exciting. It's still exhilarating.
Feels a little more business-like?
A little bit more normal, a little bit more business-like.
So this game is tied.
Yeah.
At the half.
No, they're winning at the half.
So what changes in that game in that second half is Jimmy Johnson, Norv Turner, they start handing you the ball. 7 out of 8 plays in a row.
Yeah.
Here comes Emmitt.
Well, they came to me, they came to the offensive line, and they said, we're going to get you the football. And the offensive linemen, all of them, once they said that, my boys like to run the football. Because you got to understand, my offensive linemen averaged about 310 pounds across the front. And sometimes offensive linemen get tired of pass blocking and people hitting them all the time. They like to fire off and hit others. And this particular game, at that time, they were ready. And so was I. 2 in a row.
2 in a row.
Back to back.
So you're the first to win the rushing title, the league MVP, and the Super Bowl MVP. First to do that. I mean, that is a year. And think of how it started with you.
0-2.
You in a negotiation.
Yeah. And going 0-2. The team started at 0-2. Yeah. It was fun. I didn't think I would have a chance to lead the league in rushing again because I missed the first 2 games and knowing Barry Sanders was going to run wild.
Are you aware of Barry? I know
everybody's
aware of Barry, but the numbers and where you stack up against Barry Sanders.
That's my benchmark. He was my benchmark.
92, 93. Mm-hmm. You're thinking three-peat. It's never been done.
I thought it was a foregone conclusion.
But what you didn't know was less than 2 months later, Jimmy Johnson resigns.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that was going to happen. And
I know from talking to Troy, talking to Michael, it's always a game of what if. Yeah. You know, you guys were that good.
Right.
and the what-if game happens with regard to Jimmy Johnson. What if Jimmy and Jerry could have gotten along and coexisted? How many could we have won? Is that how you look back on it?
Yeah, I do. Could we have won 4 in a row? Perhaps. Perhaps. But I have to also look at myself. And I think we as players have to look at ourselves too, because we had the tools. Offense never changed. Offense stayed the same. Our defense stayed the same. Yes, our head coach had left, but our head coach had left us with a lot of great tools. How to be focused, how to work hard, how to compete, and that part was ingrained in us. That's what he left us with.
But 95 comes around, and there you are again.
Yeah.
I mean, Barry Switzer, head coach.
We took it upon ourselves. And that's what I mean by Jimmy left us some things that we should own now. He gave us enough of the tools to get us in a place to where we know how to train, we know how to compete, we know how to prepare.
But you got to do it yourselves.
Yes. That's
Right.
part of growing up. That's part of being a mature football player. That's part of being a professional football player. And I think at that point in 95, we started to own it. And once we owned it, we felt like we could do it. And that team went out and did it, in spite of who was the head coach.
27-17. Emmitt Smith held only 49 yards rushing today, but 2 touchdowns.
How did that feel?
It felt great because the prior year, I was struggling with hamstring issues the whole entire year, but it was a great year. Led the league in rushing again.
You almost just use that as a given. I mean, another year, another rushing title. You helped turn this organization around from 1990 through the 95 season. You've got 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
But now the individual stuff is there. You said when you were a rookie, you wrote down on that piece of paper, I want to be the all-time leading rusher in the history of the NFL. And with all these rushing titles, is that now becoming a little bit more in sight for you as the numbers start to pile up?
Not quite, because I think at that time I'm probably over 10,000 yards or right at it, and it's still 6,000 yards away, which means at least if I'm averaging, 1,500 yards, probably 3 seasons away. But I'm getting older. Team is not as strong as we once were, and so it's still a ways off, and it's not quite as clear as it needs to be.
2002, you enter the season with the rushing title right there on the horizon. Take us through what it's like with that goal, the goal that you wrote down as a rookie and Michael Irvin laughed at, to be the all-time leading rusher in the NFL.
Well, going into the 2002 season, I really felt I had a chance to do it. For the first time, it really became real.
Until then, you didn't?
Yeah, because it's still at that point, you still have to go through the process to get there. Because injury could come at any point in time, and no one knows. And I took one game at a time. And when that day came against Seattle, because I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to break it in Dallas, I was 96 yards away. And I said, this is it, because if I don't do it here, this day, we're going to be on the road for the next 2 weeks, and that's not going to be good.
Emmitt Smith needs 10 yards now to break Walter Payton's all-time record.
Greatness, make a place for Emmitt.
Yes, sir.
That was a family affair that day.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. There you go again.
What was that like, getting to the top of that mountain?
It was gratifying and it was sad at the same time, because I had gotten a chance to know Walter over the years, and he and I had spent some time together in Dallas. I met him for the first time in Dallas, and we were talking. We were at a Doak Walker Award event in Dallas, and I had a chance to really sit down and talk to a living legend and ask all of the pertinent questions that you want to ask of an individual that have gone places where you're trying to go. And we just had a candid conversation, and finally I said, who do you think will break your record? He says, there's two guys that I believe that have a chance to break my record. Barry Sanders is one, and you are the other one. I looked him square dead in his eyes. I said, I don't know what Barry wants, but I want your record. And he said, go get it. That was that. And when he passed, I think part of me passed along with him, but the sense of responsibility, a greater responsibility came upon me. And all I ever wanted to do was to not only break the record, but to make him proud in the process, because I never forget these words. Whoever break this record, they're gonna bust their heart trying to get there. And I understand what it means. Not literally bust your heart, but you got to bust your behind, and you got to be blessed with great health and longevity to get there, and mental fortitude and humility. And so that day was a sweet day, because I had crossed over that torch, or that line of another level of mortality. I've traveled where no other man has gone. And that, for a kid that comes from Pensacola, Florida, that's not big enough, not fast enough, or strong enough, that's a powerful thing when you know God has touched you with the ability to do things that you have no idea, a clue of how you're going to get it done, but he has directed my path.
We have this quote on the wall: I'm an enigma, an unknown. You can't really figure out what I'm going to do next. I like it like that. This quote really fits you now more that we've sat here and talked. What does that quote mean to you?
It means that I'm always looking to better myself and to add something to my arsenal. And so I don't settle for what I just actually have, because I honestly believe there's more room for me to grow. I never forget the quote Dwight Thomas said. He told us that the day that you become satisfied is the day that the growing stops. And I don't ever want to stop growing. I want to remain hungry. I want to remain humble, but I want to remain intense and always in pursuit of something better.
How much did it kill you to not end your career on field as a Dallas Cowboy?
You know, I don't think it actually killed me in that regard. I think what it did for me by playing with the Arizona Cardinals, it made it crystal clear for me that my time has come and gone, that my love for the Cowboys and sports are the same. And I cannot do this if I'm not there.
What's next for you?
What's next for me is to continue to run my full-service real estate company, my development company, as well as my construction company.
Here it is. All right. Here's the mysterious fun questions. Here's how we end. Would you rather lose all your phone contacts or lose $5,000?
$5,000.
Uh-huh. We're a long way from Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah. I mean, with my contacts, I could probably make up another 5,000.
Would you rather sing like an opera star or cook like a 5-star gourmet chef?
Cook like a 5-star gourmet chef.
And I think the hardest hitting question that Emmitt Smith has been asked, not just today, but in his life: would you rather wrestle a giant hamster or a tiny rhinoceros?
Yeah, I go with a rhinoceros.
You go with a little tiny rhinoceros.
Yeah, why not?
It'd be kind of fun.
400-pound hamster could lay on me and hurt me.
The person that is sitting right here was a young man that grew up in Pensacola, Florida, and told his dad at the age of 7 that he was going to be not just in the NFL, but a Dallas Cowboy. This is a strong man and an inspiration, undeniable, Emmitt Smith.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Enjoyed it, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.